My name is Namrata Verghese. I'm a senior in the Emory College of Arts and Sciences. I'm pursuing two joint majors. The first is in English and Creative Writing, and the second is in Psychology and Linguistics. So my honors thesis is housed in psychology, and I'm basically examining trauma narratives. More specifically, I'm looking at narratives of sexual violence from women of color. And the reason I came to this project was because in today's era, in the post-Me Too era, narratives of sexual violence are more abundant and less stigmatized than they ever have been before. But despite this, there's very little critical attention given to the narratives of women of color because in the wake of Me Too, most of the narratives that have entered our cultural psyche are from a very specific demographic, what we can call the hegemonic universal trauma victim, white, female, upper middle class, educated, Judeo-Christian. And because of this, the master narrative of sexual trauma always revolves around this hegemonic universal subject. But what I'm trying to do with my project is fill in those gaps and see the particularized kinds of trauma that deviates from this universal subject. So my project actually grew out of the Five-ish Family Narratives Lab. Dr. Five-ish was a Fox Fellow a few years ago, and she recommended working here because she had such a great experience. And the Five-ish Family Narrative Lab looks at trauma narratives from people in the area, just everyday people. So the specific data set I'm working with are narratives from Black women at Grady Hospital, and I'm pairing that with literary memoirs that have been published, so memoirs like Roxane Gay's Hunger and Not That Bad. So in looking at both of these data sets together, I'm trying to see how they converse with each other, what resonances they are between them. And I think because it's such an interdisciplinary project, being at the Fox Center has been so wonderful for me because I'm just surrounded by all of these people who are working in so many different fields, but there are connections between all of our projects that I wouldn't have expected. I remember at the last Fellows lunch, a bunch of us exchanged theses because we were like, they're so relevant to each other, we have to know what we're writing about. And beyond that, everyone is they're not just brilliant, they're also just good people who are engaged sociopolitically, who are caring, deeply caring individuals who want to make an impact in the world. And I think that's one of the things that the Fox Center has really taught me. It's about public scholarship. It's not about scholarship that's siloed in this ivory tower. It has to be public if it's supposed to be useful. What use is scholarship that exists in a vacuum? It has to be useful to the community that it purports to serve. And all of the scholars at the Fox Center are really engaged in this outward-facing public scholarship, trying to make their work accessible to the world at large, not just people in this ivory tower that we live in. Like I mentioned, the Fox Center is all about public scholarship, and that is so important to me personally. And I think that if I do choose to go into academia, if I choose to become a professor, I want to make sure I'm still making my work accessible, not esoteric. So I want to be publishing in articles in places like Huffington Post as well as scholarly articles. I want to be working in advocacy, in things that I do now. I work for Asian Americans Advancing Justice, and I think the pursuits of advocacy and scholarship are necessarily intertwined because scholarship is always about either subverting or maintaining a hegemonic status quo. So as a scholar, I would really like to emulate a lot of the people I see at the Fox Center, people like Falguni Chef or Dabulina Roy, who are really engaged in both advocacy and scholarship and don't see the two as mutually exclusive. Like I mentioned, my mentor, Dr. Five-ish, was a Fox Fellow. I know so many people, so many wonderful people who are Fox Fellows, including Professor Skybel, who is a fiction writer, and he's a creative writing professor at Emory. And I know a lot of fellows at the Fox Center who have since graduated, undergraduate fellows, people like Hannah Rose Blakely and Adam Goldstein and Hugh McGlade, and Josh Perlin, who was in my lab last year and actually was the one who very fervently recommended this to me. So I think although the Fox Center is small in terms of physical size, its impact is quite broad.